Welcome to Wired Up Retro, episode 31. Today's a special episode. We've got a special controller adapter for the Atari 2600, Atari computers, Amiga and Commodore computers, as well as the Amstrad computer from Europe. So before I get into this adapter and tell you all about it, I do want to mention I'm wearing my t-shirt of my good friend Glenn. Glenn Planamato runs the Glenn's Retro Show YouTube channel, and I'm here today giving a shout out the entire episode to Glenn. So if you haven't checked out his channel, definitely do. He's got a great channel with good content for video games and especially arcade type related things. So definitely check out Glenn. All right, well, here's the adapter I want to show you today. There's probably very few of you who know about this. This is an adapter made by a gentleman at eBay who goes by the handle Icons GR74. And he's been making adapters for a long time. This is an adapter that allows PC 15-pin controllers from, let's say, the mid-80s, early 90s, maybe even the mid-90s, to work on an Atari game system, the 2600, 7800, the Atari computers. Obviously, I mentioned Commodore and Amiga, as well as Amstrad. So basically, what this is going to enable you to do is to take your PC controller, whether it be a gamepad or a variety of different joysticks, and once you get it plugged in, you just plug it directly into your Atari 2600, for instance, and you got yourself a gamepad. This is the Gravis PC gamepad. One neat thing about this is you can put it on the left. It's got a little joystick. You can actually remove that joystick and just use it like you would have a Nintendo or Super NES controller with the pad on the left. But if you flick this switch, you can flip it the other way, and you can use the right thumb to direct the directional pad, and these buttons will be on the left side. So you can choose which side you want to have it on. So I kind of like this. This is kind of nice for Atari games where you want to have a little extra control with your right hand on a gamepad. Another controller I want to mention here that we could use with this adapter is this Champ controller. And it's very similar to the Gravis. It's got a little thicker body. It's got a bunch more buttons, but that's kind of moot because we're only going to be using a single button. This adapter, for all the intents and purposes we're using it for today, it's just going to offer a one-button solution for the games. All right, so let's go on to talk a little bit about some of the other controllers. We have ones that are like Genesis controllers, the Pro Pad 3000 made by Inland. This is a Logitech controller, again, kind of like a Genesis pad. There's also this one, which is made from Europe. This is kind of a unique one. It's kind of got a round shape, and it looks very close to the Nuon controller made by Samsung. I don't know if any of you have heard of the Nuon game system, but there's an interesting few games on it, including Tempest 3000, which I enjoy. So anyway, I kind of enjoyed it on my Nuon, so I ended up finding this on eBay and saying, hey, I want to play my 2600 games with this. And it's not just the 2600 games you're going to be able to play. If you have another adapter instead of this one that's made by an Atari Age member, Bohoki, that one allows you to play 5200 games with these PC controllers, whether they be gamepads or joysticks. So yeah, we got options, definitely a lot of options. Now, the sequel to this Gravis PC gamepad is this Gamepad Pro made by Gravis, and this also has the option of a stick that's removable. This is more like a PlayStation controller. It's got the EA Sports logo on it. It's a pretty comfortable controller that I've enjoyed using before. This one is a Cytec. It's called the Cytec P120, and it's got these side handles. In a way, when I'm playing the game, it feels a lot like a Jaguar controller. So that's its perk. Its main item is the largeness of it all. This is an Ultra Racer for the PC. This particular controller has a dial, and when plugged in using this Icons GR74 adapter, you're going to be able to play some racing games, but it's not really analog like the paddle for the Atari 2600 is. It's just digital, so it'll go left and right. And for a game such as Pole Position, it may offer a little extra fun compared to a joystick. There's also steering wheels for the PC, which I might touch on a little later, that could also prove to be interesting for using this adapter. A couple other curiosities that I have here. This one is called the Micro Vigilante, and the Micro Vigilante is a pretty unique gamepad because it actually has micro switches in the directional pad. It's definitely unique and a fun way to play certain Atari 2600 games, Hero for instance, or Dig Dug. It's definitely got a real clickiness about it. I think it's kind of neat. I enjoy that one. Another one that's unique is the Mako Pad Pc Controller, and this one actually had a N64 version, but this is the PC version made by Interact. When you've got this switch clicked to the left, you've got a D-pad that is activated, and it feels pretty nice. And then you can click it over to this side, that switch, and you'll be now using the analog stick, although again, with this adapter, we're just using digital game controls. But it does work, and I like this controller. Some people don't like it because it's very asymmetric, but I don't mind it. I think it actually feels pretty good in the hands, and it's fun. All right, so let's go over to the joysticks now. We've got, the large size joysticks. One of the largest ones I have is called the Vortex 3D. This has different modes, but if you put it in steering mode, it can be used like a steering wheel. It's very unique. If you put it into the other mode, up, down, left, and right do work by doing this with it. And you can also take it off the stand, put it into digital mode. It's got a D-pad on it, so you can play your 2600 games with this in digital mode if you switch that over to digital. So yeah, the Vortex 3D, kind of an interesting controller. And we've also got this Quick Shot here. The Quick Shot Intruder is very unique. Kind of pull it back like that, push it forward, and then left and right for flight games. Tomcat F-14 may be a lot of fun with this. This is the QS 146, so unique. Another that I have liked through the years is this one. This is the Cyclone 3D, and it's made by Interact. I used to use this to play Free Space back in my old PC days in the mid-90s. It's got that twist action, but yeah, it won't be used as a twisting. It's just going to be left, right, up, down, and a single button. I've got a few others here, some of them unique. This is the PC Raider, a little more compact than maybe this one, and easier to store. And I like it. It's got a nice clicky trigger and a top button there. This is a Wiko. It looks just like the Atari 5200 Wiko, except for the fact it's beige. The other one's black and red, but anyway, it's the same model basically, but this one's designed for use with the PC. It's a very nice controller. We've got a controller called the Easy Options joystick. I'm not as big of a fan of this as I am that. Wiko beats it. This one's called My Joystick. It's got very little throw. It's similar to an Atari 2600 joystick. This one's got a very small nub with it's got a lot of tension to it. Not one of my favorites, but it is unique, I have to say that. These Blackhawk controllers right here are nice. This one is also a Gravis. It's got a couple buttons on the base. I like that about it. And this one, this is a little more of a basic, flight yoke, basically. All right, so yeah, you get an idea. This one is also a very unique controller. This is a Quick Shot controller. It's the QS172A, made for PC, a 15-pin connector. It's very much got a lot of throw. It's designed for PC games. Even flight stick type games will work with this. So you got to be kind of gentle when playing your 2600 games with this. But it does work. You get used to it. And a nice clicky button there. So it kind of looks like a Genesis controller. Of course, as you know, you can just plug a Genesis controller into your 2600 and you're good to go. You don't need this adapter if you want to use a joystick like this. But anyway, this is kind of unique and a unique way to play your games. All right, so we'll show a little gameplay of some of the games being played with unique controllers. I'm really grateful that John has made this adapter. It's actually not expensive. If you go, I've provided a link below to the eBay, his eBay store where he sells this. And you'll notice that, you're going to spend very little money, and the shipping's low too, which is interesting. It's from Europe, and apparently it's not costing him a lot to ship it to the States. So here in the US, we get it for a pretty reasonably great price. So definitely check out his products. This is one of the better choices that he has, and there's a couple others I've mentioned on my previous Wired Up Retro episodes, including the very first episode of Wired Up Retro when I went into it in-depthly. Okay, so another thing, I do have to mention flight yokes. Flight yokes can be good for 2600 games, and I may show you a flight yoke that I have in action. So we'll take a look at that too. All right, let's get busy. Well, all right. Well, that's about it for today. I hope you enjoyed our episode. Our upcoming episode also has to do with this very same adapter. I found a way to allow the Atari 7800 2-button games to get compatibility with all these PC controllers. So looking forward to presenting that to you sometime in the very near future. Before I turn you loose here, I will mention that there are certain controllers that you'd think would work. They're 15-pin PC controllers that you would think would work with this, but unfortunately they don't. And that just has to do with the fact that by the mid-90s, people were starting to program games to use controllers that had special drivers that were involved in the use of them. So those controllers will not have compatibility. A good example of this is a product that I have right here. It's made by the company Thrustmaster, and this is called the Fragmaster. It kind of looks like a controller for an alien ship, but yeah, it'd be kind of neat if it worked, but unfortunately it doesn't. And there are a few like the Sidewinder series for PC controllers made by Microsoft. None of those will have compatibility as well. There's a product that's made by Cytec that's a gamepad that looks like a PlayStation controller. I found out that that one doesn't have compatibility as well. And so, yeah, you'll probably run into some that you won't have, think that, oh, this is going to work, and then it doesn't. So if you do happen upon one of those, definitely leave a comment below so we can all know which ones to avoid. Appreciate that very much. All right, so till next time, enjoy playing your 2600 and your Atari computer games with PC controllers. All right, we'll catch you soon. Bye.